Hey everybody, welcome back to another one of Mudflap's movie reviews. My name is Mudflap and today I will be reviewing the final installment of Phase 4 of the MCU. Today I'll be reviewing Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Let's get started. So I really loved this movie. I got pretty excited from the very first trailer that was dropped a few months ago, and we got to see that the Black Panther would be returning and everybody was going to be guessing and who the Black Panther was, and we all figured out it was Shuri, and it was a perfect transition from Chadwick Boseman to Letitia Wright. I know there's a lot of talk about whether or not they should recast T'Challa because, you know, he's a pretty vital character in the MCU, but they ended up not going that route. I know that divided fans, but I think Shuri did a really amazing job as Black Panther. Letitia Wright definitely stepped up her acting. She stepped up her technology and all of this. This movie was just really powerful. It was, a lot of it had to do with just people paying their respects and their homage to Chadwick Boseman's legacy and what he left behind for people, but also that they were carrying the mantle forward and looking towards the future and not the past, and you could see that throughout the movie. And lots of characters, and I thought it was really beautiful just seeing how each character in the movie, they were all going through the grief and the mourning process of it, and how they each had a different way of approaching moving on and approaching the fact that Chadwick Boseman's character is now dead and Wakanda needs a new Black Panther, new leader, and they're kind of in this very vulnerable position, and they realize that they do need a new leader, and you know, eventually that responsibility falls onto Shuri, and she's definitely was hit the hardest. You could see it from the very beginning during the very beautiful funeral scene with the white. It was cinematically beautiful, that funeral scene in the beginning, but you could just see that she was just absolutely destroyed. She was pretty lost throughout the whole movie with what direction she should do, whether or not she even wants to be the Black Panther. Like, all of her beliefs come to light on, you know, the ancestral plane, you know, what's the best option for Wakanda at this point. And, you know, all that was just really, they dove deep into Shuri's personal life and personal feelings a lot more than the first movie, because this was you know, when Chadwick Boseman died, it was a really sad day. I remember the day they announced that he passed away, and, you know, all the actors who had worked with Chadwick just had so much good things to say, and you could see that portrayed, you know, in this movie, a very heavy emotional movie for a good part of it, and then it picks up and it completely just changes, you know, halfway through the movie when, you know, Shuri takes on the responsibility of Black Panther. They try to stop Namor. We have Ironheart in there, and it was just a really great movie to wrap up Phase 4. I liked how this movie felt different than the first Black Panther movie. It was different in a way of, it wasn't your typical Marvel superhero movie where, you know, it's pretty much just cut and paste from every other superhero movie. This one definitely had a different feel to it because of just the fact that Chadwick Boseman was no longer with us as Black Panther. Completely just reset the mood, and director Ryan Coogler just did an amazing job this time once again directing this movie, but he pulled out all the stops for just making Talokan, Namor's home city, just extremely beautiful. Just really tackled the Namor homeworld and Namor himself really well, and, you know, all of the beautiful cinematic moments and the acting. He really, I know, I could tell that he was just really wanting all the actors in this movie to really go all out with how they were feeling about everything, and you could see it and you could feel it. Like, yeah, it was really emotional, and Ryan Coogler just is a great visionary when it comes to Black Panther movies. Along with that, the music once again was phenomenal. I actually liked the soundtrack this movie better than the first movie. It was just really powerful music, and it's just really interesting. The Black Panther movies, they're just different from all the other Marvel movies out there because they completely look at a different type of people group, you know, the African world, and it's just really beautiful and lots of things to explore, lots of things to learn. and I really love the world of Wakanda. The only thing I'd say negatively about this movie was I thought the length was a little too long. It was 2 hours and 41 minutes, which is a pretty decent length for a Marvel movie, but I felt that they took a little bit too much time getting to some of the points in the movie. They could have skipped through a few things and we could have just filled in the gaps, but at the same time I kind of understand how Ryan Coogler wanted to make sure everyone understood what was going on, but also just dive into extreme detail with both worlds and how both worlds, the Wakandan world and Atlantis, were feeling their motivations. Namor, how he was feeling, what made him such a great anti-hero. He's not a villain. I know a lot of people may think Namor is a villain, but he was actually a really, really good anti-hero. He had pretty good logic once again. I mean, all bad guys have good logic. A really good anti-hero gets you believing stuff, gets you agreeing with them, a whole lot of things, and then they turn and they screw you over because they're really only looking out for themselves and their people group. He was just using Wakanda to get what he wanted, and that's the sign of a really good anti-hero. I think Tenoch Huerta did a phenomenal job in Namor. I know in interviews he talked about that role as being a dream come true. I liked how they changed Namor's look. They kept some basic designs for Namor in the movie, but then they upped the ante because he wasn't Mayan in the comics, but they made him Mayan in the movie, and I thought that was a cool choice to change that about him. And just the way he looked, all of his cool, the wings on his shoes, all the cool Mayan necklaces and earrings he had, he just looked so cool. He was an amazing character, and I'm just really happy for Tenoch that he really got to debut in the MCU in a big way. For favorite moments, the one moment that I just want to see over and over again just because I thought it was just so awesome was when Shuri finally takes up the mantle as Black Panther, and she has this amazing entrance, and the music that's going along with her entrance, it's really pulsating electronic music that you can just feel it in your soul. It hits you super, super hard. It was perfect. Like you couldn't frame an entrance any better than how she entered. Just really brought a lot of hope and life back into Wakanda, because that was what a lot of the movie was missing, was hope. They needed to have hope back in their lives because Namor and his army were taking over Wakanda slowly, and the Black Panther is the only thing strong enough to stop him. So that was just the strong symbolism of hope was very present throughout this entire movie. Favorite character, I have to say, is definitely Namor. Namor was my favorite character for a lot of reasons. Like I said, I really loved how he was portrayed. Tenoch Huerta did a great job at being a great anti-hero, being very convincing. He and the Wakandans are very similar in a lot of ways, but he was really, really strong. I hope to see him in the future. I'm not sure how, but I hope we get to see Namor back, because this is just the start for Tenoch Huerta's debut, and I think it'd be great to see him back once again as Namor. His presence on screen is just enough for you to get intrigued by him, but when you watch him, when you understand his reasons and his motivations behind why he wants Vibranium and why he wants Wakanda to team up with them, it all makes sense. It's all logical, it all makes sense, but of course there's a certain flaw in the logic, and that's when the problems start to arise and war is inevitable at that point. So compared to the first Black Panther, I remember when I first saw Black Panther in theaters when it came out, I thought it was really great. I felt a lot of people were saying it's kind of overhyped to an extent. I really liked Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther a lot. It was just the perfect role for Chadwick in the MCU, and how we got to see Wakanda in all its glory, because we hadn't really seen him like in full force until Black Panther. There were hints and we got to meet Black Panther in Civil War, but we never got to see all the other stuff, his homeworld, all the technology, all the culture stuff. We finally got to see that in Black Panther, and it was just such a cool cultural experience. Because just to see all that, and then when I compared to Black Panther 2, like I said, they felt very different from each other, kind of like how Infinity War and Endgame were very different from each other, even though they were sequels to each other. They're all part of like the same thing. They still felt different. I'd say I liked Black Panther 2 slightly better for just a couple small reasons. the main reason was just the bad guy. I know Killmonger was a great bad guy in the first Black Panther, but I like Namor a lot better. I also like the storytelling, the way everything looked. I think just adding another world, a world like Atlantis to this, just made it even cooler. Lots of underwater shots. I mean, it was just next level stuff. So for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 Mudflaps. And before you go, drop in the comments below, who's your favorite character from Black Panther? And as always, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, and I'll see you next time.